Michal Bardavid. Welcome to the Bookaholic Podcast.
Thank you very much, Deirdre. It's nice to be with you.
Yes, absolutely. And you brought us a book today that is so needed. It's needed through all time because all generations have struggled with these things. But, really, I think in our time, it's definitely something that people need to have on their nightstand because every now and again, and you'll feel very confident in ways and then not confident in others, kind of need a pick me up from time because that's just how life goes, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, yes, yes. So you brought us the book, Becoming a Peacock, Strut Your Way into Self-Love. And it's a beautiful book.
Thank
I
you. Thank you so
absolutely
much.
love it. I absolutely. Very beautiful. And so let's just go ahead and dive right in. Why did you feel that you were the person that could write this book?
Well, I've been actually teaching the basics of dance movement therapy. I'm a dance movement therapist, and I've been teaching the basics
Okay.
of dance movement therapy at a university here in Istanbul for the past 17 years. And even though my goal is to teach those principles, it's like a group therapy. The semester goes like that. And whenever we're working on ourselves, I realize that whatever theme we've been working on, whether it's your personal space, whether it's your confidence, whether it's, being able to put some boundaries, everything all relates to the very core of self-love. So I've been teaching this principle of dance movement therapy, but I've realized that because everything connects to self-love, and every time I realize that my students, whenever I give them an example from my own life, it felt like we could connect more and they can resonate with the idea more, they can resonate with the concept more. So I wanted just to connect with more people and give them the message that they're worthy and especially worthy of their own self-love.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, one of the things that as I was looking through the table of contents and was reading is that, well, first, let's go back to this. The peacock. Why did you select the peacock? We all know the peacock is a beautiful bird.
Right. But the peacock, the, the beauty of the peacock is that when you see the peacock wandering around, it walks around all humble and calm and nice. But when it wants to shine, it just opens its feathers and you cannot take your eyes off that thing, right? So I wanted to give the
Right.
metaphor saying that, I want you to be like a peacock so that you know how beautiful you are. You are amazing. You are beautiful. And whenever you want to shine, just shine. You have the power to open your feathers and be like a peacock. But it's not about, always wanting the sun, the spotlight to be on yourself. You're just knowing that concept where you're aware of how worthy you are is that's like the metaphor that I wanted to build on. So just be like a peacock, and whenever you want to shine, just open your feathers and be like, hey.
So I can remember, and this is something that affected me for years. I can remember being in, I don't know, maybe let's say somewhere between the fourth and sixth grade. I think it was maybe like the sixth grade. And so we had a very active arts program at my school growing up. And the chorus teacher, we were probably putting on a show. And my parents were from the generation of doing the Charleston. And so I think we had to sing that song, the Charleston song. And she asked if anybody could do the Charleston. And I was like, I can do the Charleston because my parents had showed it to me, right? And so she's like, okay, great. So I think I had to do the Charleston in the show and we were singing the song, the Charleston. Anyway, so after that, course class, later on that day or the next day, two very hateful girls that were always picking at me, they then started to say, I can do the Charleston, mimicking my voice. And I was like, what, that affected you that I said I can do the Charleston? But that caused me And I didn't say I can do the Charleston just because I was bragging. It's because I actually knew how to do it. But I was shining, and not intentionally or ugly shining, but so many people want to dim your light. And I think a lot of people, they want to shine, but there's going to be so many people that hate them for shining and for demonstrating their self-worth. Then that's where we fall into problems and that pit. So overall, you can have a mantra and read these different mantras and say, well, I can do this, I can do that. But for some people, as soon as they get out into the world, it's okay when you're in your bedroom or in your house or apartment. But as soon as you get out among people, coworkers, other students, wherever, even church, then it's like nobody wants you to shine. So what do you say to that? And how do you overcome society that doesn't want you to shine? A lot of times, especially women, the society doesn't want women to shine. That's why we don't have a woman president in the United States yet, because nobody wants women to shine.
Well, you're gonna have such a strong sense of self that I know it's easy to say, and it seems like, okay, just build a mantra. It's not just a mantra, it's just working on it daily, on a daily basis, and really believing that you are worthy, believing that you have the right to shine. It's not just one thing you say to yourself, it's about practicing that, believing that, and believing it to your core so that when you go out into the outer world, your boundaries, your sense of self, your sense of beauty and sense of confidence is so strong that it bounces off whatever other people say to you or want to make you believe. That doesn't impact you. But it doesn't change overnight. It's not just saying
Well,
that, oh, okay, repeat it to yourself once. It's just about practicing it and understanding that you have the power to build that see-through transparent bubble, I want to say, as your personal space. And what I want, and in dance movement therapy, we'll call that the kinsphere. That's your own personal space. And I want people to imagine that, like, people, when they throw these arrows at you, I want them to, like, imagine you have like a bubble around you that it can just bounce back off when you know who you
right,
are to your core. And that's the thing. You have to really work on yourself in terms of, like, who am I? What do I believe? What are my values? What is okay with me and what is not okay? What am I going to allow people to um do? What do I tolerate? And when you know
right,
what that is, you are going to, be able to put that shield around you and make those things just bounce off. Don't let that, I want to say, not negative energy, but negative, whatever it is, people trying to dim your light, they cannot take that away from you if you do not allow it. So you have to
right.
really remember that you have the power to actually believe in that and not let that get into your um inner thoughts, inner emotions, inner world, basically.
Well, what would you say about the, say, teens that live in a family that does not promote these type of values? A lot of times, as I just mentioned, people think it's the outsiders that want to dim your shine, but sometimes it's your own family members, people's mothers, fathers, siblings. People come from very dysfunctional homes. And so, how would you suggest someone coming from the core where they're supposed to learn these positivity outcomes to fight against the world? What about the kids that's not getting support at home?
Yeah, I think that's a very difficult issue for young people who live in these environments where they're not supported and they're not loved for who they are. They are potentially receiving judgmental love, conditional love. And I think, yes, that is very difficult. And that's where it becomes important to give these messages from a younger age as teachers, as friends, as people who can support younger people, as adults who can support younger people. But for the younger ones, I think it we have to support them with the uh, amount of reading that they can do, just resources. I think a lot of resources are out there, but internally, I think as they grow older, they are going to have to differentiate their own value from the voices in their heads that are their parents. Because, as I say, later it becomes somebody else's voice, but it's more problematic, as you have suggested, when it comes from a younger age and it's actually your parents. As they grow older, of course, they're going to have to differentiate and understand, okay, you know what? That was my mother's voice. This is my voice now. I don't have to believe or have to internalize what messages my parents have been giving me until now. So it's a matter of the different resources that they can get. But I think what they are going to have to do is to differentiate their own voices from their parents and just understand that their voices, the parents' voices, are not facts. You may
Right.
receive negative messages from your parents, but they're going to have to understand that intentionally or even whatever that reason may be, whether they're having their own challenges of their parents, it may be a generational thing, it's maybe just different values. It is not about them as a child. Your parents, whatever their reasons may be, have been giving you something that does not belong to you. And I think as we grow older, the important thing is to find our own beliefs and find our own voice and understand that we as a person, each individual, is worthy and worthy of love, no matter what their parents, their friends, their teachers, whoever is giving them negative belief systems, that doesn't belong to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. It'd be very interesting. I know, of course, your book is probably available on most book platforms, online platforms, and in bookstores. But I think it would be a great school resource given to guidance counselors for and students might come to them. Maybe they could get, I don't know, the education system could buy them and pay for them, but given maybe to every senior graduating as a graduation gift, because people do need these lessons that you have in this book. And like I said, it's a companion piece. It's a piece that you could look at throughout the rest of your life, because in some days we're facing knowing that we're beautiful versus knowing to say no. It goes up and down, depending on what situation you're in. So, but that would be interesting to see if we could get those into the hands of all the young people, because they all need to see the points that you're talking about. The first point that I want to concentrate on is that I feel on the same context in which we've been speaking, and it's one of the deepest ones, and it's that you're saying that people are worthy. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. We don't know that we're worthy. And you can go down the road of, say, biblically, how the Bible speaks about your worthiness. But there's for the folks that don't, their primary book is not the Bible, or maybe their primary book is the Bible, but they feel like the Bible's too tough to read, or they feel it's ancient words and it's not matching today's society. Knowing your worth, how can we get more people to embrace and know that they are worthy as a human being? And you make some very good points here. I myself, a few weeks ago, and I would like to say that I am, but it's a lot better, going through a wilderness season. And I felt a few weeks ago that I wasn't worthy, that society makes you feel unworthy sometimes, that if you don't have massive amounts of money, or if you don't have the most beautiful face. And I was feeling some kind of way of unworthiness, something I have never really wrestled with. And here I am, a full adult, and I was wrestling with that a few weeks ago. And, I had to get myself out of that. Of course, I use the Bible and prayer and all of those kind of things, but you do say here to know your worth, and you make a great point that people get stuck on jobs that make them feel worthy. Money makes them feel worthy. A spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend makes them feel worthy. And we can all lose those things. I think when I read this chapter, I thought of like people who lost jobs and then they go and shoot up the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
That's how far that this can go. So, what made you, and maybe that was your publisher. This is like one of the first chapters. Is that for a reason?
I think it was just the first message I wanted to get out. When I started
Absolutely.
writing, it was like, it just, it, I feel that's the most important one in all of the
Absolutely.
chapters. And I just directly go into it. Yes, I know. But it's like, and I think because that's the main problem that so many of us go through, and sometimes we're not even aware of it, and especially at a younger age. And as you say, even as adults, we we have so many desires, and we mistake those desires to be like, okay, I want that because that will make me feel like I'm more important or more worthy. But sometimes we're not even aware that we're doing that. And we can only sometimes become aware when we don't get it, or we lose it, or we're rejected. And then we just feel like we're disappearing, or it's the end of the world if I don't get the job, or if the man that I love, leaves me, I'm going to disappear. I feel like I'm lost. These
Right.
words, when people say like, oh, I'm lost, I can't, I can't get out of bed. And like, I know, it's very, very painful, all of these losses. But sometimes the reason that we feel so lost, or so completely in the dark, is because we've connected all of our sense of value, of our worthiness, to that specific person or job or status, whatever it is. And when we lose that, we feel like we're lost, we've disappeared. And
Right.
so it becomes like an existential crisis, actually. So it's important to really build on our core sense of worthiness before we actually try to achieve something, and understand, like, you know what, I want to get that job, or I'm hoping this marriage will work, or I'm hoping to really win the heart of this person. But if she or he, rejects me, okay, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to disappear. I can just move on. And I am a whole, complete person
Mhm.
without that person's love or acceptance of me. um,
Right.
that does not define my worthiness. Or
Right.
if I lose my job, it's okay. I'm still me. I'm still
Right.
just as worthy. And the easiest way to understand that is to think of another person. Would you think your friend is less worthy just because they've lost their job, if they've been fired, or if somebody else dumps them? Are you going to think any less of them? No, you're going to love them just the same. They are the same person to you. But we do that to ourselves. And that's just so mean, and we have to
Really?
be so kind.
But
We
you
should be
start
kind to ourselves. And we have to really remember that we need to be kindest to ourselves. Like, you would behave to the bestest of your friends. You are your own best friend, and that's how you should treat yourself.
Absolutely. Well, you say a peacock is authentic, and we live in a vastly inauthentic society. There's AI, hate it or love it. And some days I love it, some days I hate it. There's AI. You can buy contact lenses that do another color to your eyes. You can buy wigs that does another texture to your hair. You can get facelifts, butt lifts, all kinds of lifts. And, some of those things can be okay if you're doing them in the right frame and spirit of them. I'm not saying that you should not get a facelift or change your hair any way you want to change it. But I'm just saying it's how you take on that transformation. Is it authentic? Or desire, or or are you trying to hide who you really are? Also, I want to speak on the authenticity of your word. Are you a person of your word? And that has a lot to do with authentic. So, what say you in this chapter?
I think that also connects to the fear of not being accepted. The reason people are sometimes not authentic, or they're, they're kind of hiding in a way or putting on a mask or whatever it is that they're changing is because they think they're not going to be accepted for who they are, or they
Right.
want to be more desirable. So I think if you believe and if you think that, okay, you know what, if they don't accept me just the way they are, that I am, then I'd rather be alone. And if you, when you
Right.
can get to the state, this confidence to say that, then you're going to prefer to be authentic. And when you are authentic, you are acting in a self-loving way, because only when you are authentic can you feel happy completely in a, the most purest way. Because when you're faking or you're changing something just to be accepted and you are accepted, you're going to feel kind of good because you know that you're achieving something, that desired outcome, but not as yourself. And that is not going to feel
Right.
completely aligned with who you are, and that is not going to feel completely good in
Okay.
the deepest way that you need to feel good, actually.
Yes, yes, yes. Another point in your book is that you say a peacock dares to say no, and people
Mhm.
find it so difficult to say no because they don't want to be seen as mean. They don't want to be seen as maybe lazy or non-cooperative. But something that I have learned in the last few years is to set my boundaries. So that also has to do with setting boundaries sometimes when you say no. And so, what say you about theirs to say no?
I think, first of all, again, it's about, yes, of course, it's boundaries. First of all, yes, it's about being able to put healthy boundaries, being direct in the way that you say it. But I've also added the concept of the loving no, because it's not just about saying no; it's about how you say no. And I think when you express yourself in a healthy, direct, not like, oh no, we don't want, with not in a half no, but in a clear no, with your explanation, with your direct, authentic way, then the person you're saying no to should be able to accept it and still be able to maintain your bond, your connection. If they don't, just because you're saying no, then that is not a healthy relationship to begin with. So if you are going
Right.
to lose someone because you said no, you might as well lose them. Because if you give them the explanation that I'm saying no, a no to you is a yes to me at this moment, they should, if they love you, they're going to understand. They should understand. I'm not saying that
Right.
you should never do anything that it doesn't work for you. You know, compromise is something. We just need to have the balance of it. You know, it's not saying no every single time, or it's not saying yes. Or it's about being in your general um, maintaining your own sense of self authentically for your desires and your needs, listening to yourself first. But every now and then, when you see that somebody really needs you, even though that's not something you want to do at that moment, it may be, if that's okay to support them or whatever it is, that's not going to hurt you or, you know, uh, break your value completely or something, then it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to say yes when you want to say no. But, it can't be your everyday um, pattern, because then you're once again
Right.
not treating yourself right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Mikhail, thank you so much for writing Becoming a Peacock, Strut Your Way to Self-Love. There are
Thank
so many chapters in here that take you, it's not from A to Z, but take you from A to Z and corroborating and supporting your self-worth and what you can do, and you can feel okay about it. And it's just so it's easy to read, but it's full of depth. And it's one of those books you can read it from beginning to end, but you can also just turn to a chapter and read that chapter for that day and maybe use it as a journal prompt
you.
and, explore it more deeply for yourself. and this also could be a companion if you do therapy. Let your therapist know about that you're reading this book and stuff as well. So thank you so much for this. That's an important book for our society. I really appreciate you for writing that and sharing that with my audience.
Thank you so much. Everything that you've said really means a lot to me. Thank you so much, Deirdre. Really appreciate it.